All right, let's get right into it. For decades, the JonBenet Ramsey case has been just this storm of theories. But today, we're cutting through all of that noise. We are going straight to the heart of the matter, the crime scene itself. Because the physical evidence that was left behind in that house, it doesn't just tell a story, it tells a deeply, deeply contradictory one. It's got clues that point in two totally opposite directions at once.
And that's really the core of it, isn't it? That feeling that just something is off. No single theory seems to make sense of all the bizarre evidence. It's like a puzzle, but the pieces feel like they were taken from two completely different boxes. So let's start digging into the hard facts of that crime scene.
Okay, fact number one. It's all about the ligature that was used to strangle JonBenet. Now, you might just assume it was a weapon of opportunity, something grabbed in the heat of the moment. But the forensics, well, they tell a much, much different and way more chilling story.
So, according to the official report from the Boulder District Attorney's Office, the white cord used for both the garrote and the wrist ties was a specific type of material, olefin. And get this, investigators searched that entire house, top to bottom, and they found no match. Not in the closet, not in the garage, not a single scrap of it anywhere. To put it simply, the cord used to make the murder weapon did not come from inside the Ramsey home. And you have to understand what that implies. An impulsive crime, a crime of passion. It uses what's already there, a lamp cord, a belt, whatever's handy. But this cord, this was a foreign object. It was introduced to the scene, and that points away from some spontaneous act and squarely toward premeditation. It means someone came prepared.
But just when the evidence seems to be pointing to an outsider, an intruder, the weapon itself just throws this massive wrench into everything. See, the garrote wasn't just the cord. It was a hybrid, a bizarre blend of the foreign and the familiar that honestly makes no logical sense. And this, right here, this is the central paradox that has haunted investigators for decades. How can a single murder weapon have two completely different origin stories? It's a massive contradiction sitting at the very center of this crime.
Let's just break this down. On the one hand, you have the cord. It's foreign material, right? It supports the whole intruder theory. But then you look at the handle used to tighten that cord. It was made from a paintbrush, a brush that was broken in half and matched 100% directly to a set from Patsy Ramsey's own art supplies. So that part of the weapon was intensely personal. It was sourced from right inside the house. So the weapon itself is a walking contradiction. It feels both planned out and totally improvised. It feels foreign and yet deeply intimate. It's almost as if it was designed to confuse you, to point fingers in every direction and somehow in no direction at all.
And the contradictions, they do not stop there. Because while that cord was foreign, the fibers found all over it were anything but. And this next piece of evidence, this is probably one of the most specific and frankly disturbing details in the entire case file. Now, we're not talking about a random fiber transfer here. This isn't the kind of thing that happens when someone just brushes past something. No, we're talking about trace evidence that was literally locked into the structure of the murder weapon itself. And to really get the weight of this, you have to understand this forensic concept called trace entrapment. Basically, when you tie a knot, the pressure can physically trap microscopic fibers deep inside it. What that means is those fibers were present at the exact moment the knot was being tied. They become a physical part of the event, like a tiny witness frozen in place.
So, forensic testing found red fibers that were consistent with the jacket Patsy Ramsey wore on Christmas Day. And according to the case files, they weren't just found near the body, they were tied into the knot of the garrote, they were stuck to the duct tape on JonBenet's mouth, and they were found in Patsy's own paint tray in the basement. That's not random. That's a consistent multi-location forensic signature. So we've got a foreign cord with familiar fibers, a weapon made of one part household item, one part total ghost. But it gets even stranger when you start to look at what was missing. The evidence wasn't just contradictory. It looks like it was deliberately edited.
Just think about this for a second. The source of that cord, the rest of the spool it came from, it was never found. Poof, gone. A total dead end, removing any chance of tracing where it came from. But the other half of that broken paintbrush, it was left right there, in Patsy's art tote. Why would you meticulously get rid of one piece of evidence, but then just carelessly leave the other one sitting there? This selective removal, it suggests a thinking perpetrator.
Someone who understood that a spool of cord is a huge forensic liability, but a broken paintbrush? Maybe that gets overlooked. This does not look like panic. It's what criminal profilers call staging, an intelligent, active absence of evidence. So when you start putting all these facts together, the picture that emerges is it's really hard to square with a random intruder. The evidence starts to look less like a crime and more like a performance, a stage scene that was designed to tell a very specific and maybe very misleading story. I mean, seriously, for the intruder theory to hold any water against this evidence, you have to imagine a perpetrator with just unbelievable foresight and planning. Let's just walk through the absolutely insane sequence of events this person would have had to pull off perfectly. Okay, so this intruder, they would have had to know what Patsy wore to a party, find a garment with identical fibers, break into the house, know exactly where to go to find her art supplies in some obscure basement room, and then use them to build the weapon, all while planting her fibers, leaving absolutely none of their own, and then just vanishing without a trace. I mean, it is a chain of events that just defies belief. And that's the logical trap, isn't it? The theory demands an offender who is both a genius of forensic staging and a complete ghost who leaves no physical trace of themselves. You simply cannot have it both ways. It just doesn't work. So this evidence, it isn't just a collection of random clues. It forms a narrative. The choice of weapon, the fibers, the things that are missing, they all tell a story. And it's a story that feels way too specific, way too personal, and way too tangled up in the family's life to be the work of some random stranger. And in the end, that's the question this evidence forces us to ask. When a crime scene looks less like a chaotic invasion and more like a carefully crafted script, you have to stop asking how an outsider could have possibly done it, and you have to start asking who on the inside would have a reason to write it.